just a word of warning. This week's movie may be a little too old-fashioned for or some of you. However, I'm going to recommend it anyway because it is so old-fashioned and it is a product of a Hollywood that hasn't existed for so long. It oddly felt fresh while I watched it. And I was hooked to the screen every second, despite some of its old-fashioned quality and moments that I think some might find boring. And you can find it right here on YouTube, free. This week I am recommending The Greatest Show on Earth, directed by Cecil B. DeMille, and one of the major breakout roles for Charlton Heston, a screen legend who, if you're not familiar with his work, you should become familiar with it. Who, in every film I've ever seen him in, delivers one of the most powerful performances I've ever seen. And this silly little movie about a circus is no exception. And it goes beyond that. First of all, I am going to iterate on what it is actually a drama that keeps enough in the air to keep you on the edge of your seat, and it features James Stewart in one of his most unusual roles, that is a clown with a past. And despite getting more screen time than anyone else, Heston is third billed. That's how early in his career this was, and it's just a cracking good time. Some of the special, basically the basic plot of this movie is that there's a circus that isn't doing too well, but Charlton Heston still wants to put on a full season so he can keep people on paycheck. So he hires the world's greatest trapeze artist, who does some truly spectacular work in this movie, and yes, it is some of the most impressive stunt work I've ever seen in a movie. But let's just say that if you're entertained by Tom Cruise in the latest Mission Impossible movies, you'll be entertained by what this guy pulls off. The trouble is, he both knows he's the world's greatest trapeze artist, and he is French. So he is the most arrogant, dislikable person you could ever want to meet. And that's a source of tension. There is also the clown with the secret past, played by James Stewart, who, for some reason or another, the police are after, which I'm not going to reveal any of the twists, but let's just say, through all the there is quite a bit of relationship drama and other things that come off as soap opera like, but they work within this context of being an old-fashioned movie. This is the sort of film that they don't really make anymore. It's one of those films where there's enough about the real world for adults to latch on to, but it also has a lot of exciting and colorful spectacle for the kids to watch, so it becomes sort of family viewing, but not family viewing in the sense that it's made for children. The story is very much made for the adults. It just doesn't do anything that would be inappropriate for children, while at the same time giving them lots of spectacle. And one thing I found interesting is that this movie is a sort of time capsule of what circuses were in the late 1940s, 1950s. And it's a better time capsule than I've seen shorts of this stuff, and I can understand why this drew audiences in at the time. Because if you look at other footage available of circuses from the same period, you'll see a lot of grainy black and white stuff shot from far away. Here, they use what it's used. It uses VistaVision, Technicolor. It uses VistaVision, Technicolor, and it's right up there in the action. Yes, some of the special effects that make it so you can see the actors performing some of the actions haven't dated very well. But the times when they're showing real circus performers, and that is a good chunk of this movie, are just spectacular. The trapeze acts, in particular, actually had me grabbing the arms of my seat, and when you throw in the mob trying to muscle in and get protection money from this circus, the circus trying to just barely survive, a trapeze artist who is putting other people in danger by having them join him in stunts that they're just not able to perform the way he is, and you have more than enough drama to hold this thing together for its 2.5 hour runtime. And it all comes together in an exciting climax that involves a circus train wrecking, and it actually is something that I'm surprised hasn't been done in another movie, because when I think about it, there really isn't much more dangerous than a circus train wrecking. I mean, when you think about it, all the parts of tents and everything flying around, all the different things used in the acts that can be dangerous, and of course, you then have a bunch of animals that are part of the act. You have elephants, tigers, lions, monkeys, all running around, all while dealing with the normal dangers that you would encounter in a train wreck, making for an exciting climax to what is one of Cecil B. DeMille's best, I will say. It's not the Ten Commandments, but I found myself oddly enjoying it. I was expecting to be bored when I watched this, or at the very least, find it way too cheesy. And yes, there is a sort of old-fashioned sort of cheese factor to it, but the fact of the matter is that this is the type of thing Hollywood doesn't make anymore, and it's a unique time capsule of a time. So, I say give it a go. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but I feel justified in recommending this because it is just such a unique unique movie, and there isn't really anything else I've seen quite like it. And call me old-fashioned, but I was actually entertained by a lot of the footage that they shot at the circus, and I was very impressed with what an old-fashioned circus was able to do back in the day with all their resources, and this truly is one of the greatest shows on earth. So I don't think you'll regret watching this. Give it a go. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.